Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a very exciting episode of the C&E Podcast. And I say this is special because this is now our very first inaugural Genesis YouTube debut. If you're just tuning in to us for the first time, we welcome you. We hope you enjoy yourselves. Once again, this is the C&E Podcast, the heart and soul of the IWC. I'm Escobar Morales, and I'm joined by the man who's actually the founder of this podcast, Mr. Cameron Johnson. Cameron and I actually, a little bit of background information. Cameron and I actually met up at North Carolina Central University in Durham, North Carolina. I had an all elite wrestling backpack, and he said, "Yo, I like that backpack." And I'm like, "Yo, you like wrestling?" Throughout the course of the semester, we spoke. We watched a lot of NXT events. We watched the Royal Rumble 2020, I believe it was. And he had this idea of wanting to start a podcast. And I was like, you know what? Let's do it. We've been on sites such as Podbean. We are also on iTunes, Spotify. All links will be down in the description below. But we want to give our YouTube fans a warm welcome. If you're listening on audio, welcome again. Our daily listeners, thank you again. But I'm going to take it over to Cameron real quick. Cameron, we're finally on YouTube, man. How's it going?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing very good. Good. Happy to be making this debut on YouTube, and it's not wasting any time because we got a lot of burying to do.
Oh, man, you got that right. Normally, for the episode on YouTube, we're supposed to be positive and happy, but we're just going to get straight to the meat and potatoes, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be talking about the current state of Monday Night Raw.
Wait a
Uh,
minute, Escobar. Before you do that, I just want to say, if you are easily offended by opinions that differ from yours, if you're easily offended from opinions that differ from yours, if you're somebody who has enjoyed the Monday night, if you are somebody who has enjoyed Monday Night Raw as a whole, the past couple months, especially the past couple years, or if you're somebody who likes to stick to the positives and doesn't like to look at the negatives, and doesn't like people who are anti WWE, click off the video now. You've been warned. You've been warned.
yes.
You've been warned. Don't comment down below. Don't hit me on Twitter going. Don't comment down below calling WWE. Don't hit us up on Twitter going y'all anti WWE. You will be blocked. You will be blocked without hesitation. I'm not in the mood for this. I'm not in the mood for this right now. So if you do that, so I'm letting you know right now. You have been warned. You have been warned. I'm letting you know right now. You have been warned. You have been warned. So if you are offended by any of those things or don't want to hear any of those things, click the video off now. You have been warned.
Yeah, and I'd also like to add as well, this is our opinions. We're not saying that our opinions are gospel. It's the best thing in the world. We're just giving our thoughts, our views, because like you watching this video or listening to this audio on your platforms where you listen to your podcasts, we are all fans of the business. And we just like to state our opinions. We appreciate you listening to us. But it's like I said, you have been warned. If you like this, it's okay. We respect it. But we like to give our thoughts and opinions on it. So we'll give you about 3 to 5 seconds to exit out the video so y'all don't have to put us on wrestling cancel culture. And now it is time to talk about the state of Monday Night Raw. So lately, ever since the month of May, Monday Night Raw has been drawing views that between the 1,700,000 to the 1,800,000 range. As of right now, currently in the month of June, they are going down tremendously to the views of the 1 million, almost 500,000 mark. And lately, I've noticed a lot of issues within not only creative, but also with how everything is planned on live TV, how it's just. I understand with wrestling being choreographed and rehearsed, it just feels like they just aren't in it anymore. But I'm gonna kick it over to Cameron to start it off because it was actually his idea. So, Cameron, what do you want to talk about mainly first for the state of Monday Night Raw?
How bad these shows are, and how bad creative has been. How bad these shows and how bad creative has been.
Man,
I don't think there's been a period company's entire history where creative is just as bad. As it's ever been. As we've had your Uncle Kyle on the show before, who's been a wrestling fan, who's been a wrestling fan for a long time. I know we asked him before which was worse, 1995 or 2021 or 2020. And the fact that he said 2020, 2021 says a lot. 1995, for those of you that don't know, is arguably the worst year creatively in the history of the company. WWE was not doing well financially. That is when their business was going down the fucking tubes. That's what now, the business isn't going down the tubes because they're nowhere close to going out of business, but the shows are just very, very bad and just very, very dull. Uh, these shows have absolutely no life to them at all. And it's been like this for a while, and it's been like this for a while. I was listening to an old episode of the Sound. For those of you that don't know who Solid Monster is, Solid Monster is somebody who's at a wrestling. He's kind of Solid Monster is somebody who's been in the wrestling podcast game since 2007. So shout out to him. He's been doing this since 2007, and I'm a member, and I'm a Sound Off tier member. I'm a Sound Off tier member. For those of you that don't know what a tier member is, YouTube has certain tier members you can use, and you get exclusive content to their stuff. You get exclusive content from those creators. So I am one of those guys who gets exclusive content from Solomon. And I was listening to something today, and he said that he doesn't think the creative has never been as bad as it has been. A Raw was a bad show back in 2007. It's 2007, not 2017, 2021. No, this is going back to 2007. It's going back to 2007, and it's 2021, and we are iterating a lot of the same. Raw just feels completely and utterly lifeless. They don't know how to create. They don't know how to create any. They don't know how to create any new stars. They just forgot. There's nothing on Raw that is. There's nothing on Raw that is must see each week. There's nothing on Raw that is must see each week. When is the last time? When is the last time you looked at your phone and go, oh, when is the last time you looked at your phone and go, oh crap, oh crap, it's 8 o'clock. It's time for oh crap, it's 8 o'clock. It's time for me to watch Monday Night Raw.
I
When's
haven't
the
done
last
that in a
time you've done
minute.
that? I'll speak for myself. Most of the times, exactly. I'll speak for myself. Most of the time on Monday night when 8 o'clock is, I'm like, I'm like, I'm like, I'll catch her. Like, if I'll, like, I'll catch her all later, or I'm not gonna watch it right now. And I'm usually doing something else with my time. And I'm usually doing something else with my time from 8 to 11, and I'm usually going by. I'm usually going by what people say of it of Twitter. People, and I'm going by what people usually say of it on Twitter. Raw is just not a good show. It's not. The show is definitely lost its ways. The creative is not there anymore. I understand that. And look, I'm not asking every show to be a good show for every show to be a home run. Quite frankly, I'm realistic. Okay, I'm not asking that. I'm not asking each week that I turn on Monday Night Raw that Monday Night Raw be this great must see show for 3 hours. I'm not asking that at all. Okay, Raw has been a television show for 27 years. For about 27 years, okay? One thing, okay, one thing about WWE, okay, one thing about any television show, especially a show that's been on for this long, you're bound to have some good episodes, you're bound to have some bad episodes. That's what happens. That's what happens. That's life. That's what happens. That's life. Not every episode of Raw or every episode I watch is going to be good or great. We're going to have this problem with AEW soon. If AEW continues, 3, 4 years down the line, 3, 4 years down the line, AEW is not going to produce shows all the time. There are going to be there are going to be some weeks of AEW that are great. There are going to be some weeks of AEW that go, oh man, there are going to be some weeks of AEW that go, man, man, that was really a chore to sit through, man. Those 2 hours, I didn't feel like anything happened. Hopefully they pick it up next. Hopefully they pick it up next week. It's natural. You're gonna get that with any TV show. I guarantee you, any classic television show has had at least 2 hours has had at least a couple episodes that just went, man, that was a bad episode. That show's usually great. It's just a bad show. Ain't nothing happening. The writing ain't make no sense on that. I understand that. But to have it be years and years and years of nothing happening at all is just a complete disgrace. And that ending segment on Raw with Shayna Baszler and Alexa Bliss may have been one of the worst Raw segments of all time. That was just a terrible show. Absolute embarrassment.
Man, I agree with you on that one. I can honestly say that with us, we've been wrestling fans for not as long as my uncle, but like there's been other fans that we spoke to, like Earl Cole of the Wrestling Experience, who's been a wrestling fan for over 40 years. And he's talked about even stopping watching the brand, and that should say something. I mean, I started watching wrestling normally like around the years of 2004 to 2005, but I heavily got invested around the year of 2007 to 2008. And I have seen a lot of stuff come and go. I have done research, I've watched certain DVD documentaries. Like, we know a good portion of what goes on, ladies and gentlemen. But the thing is that Monday Night Raw, this used to be the show that technically got rid of WCW. This is the show that built up stars like Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, The Undertaker, Triple H, even John Cena, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose before he became John Moxley. I mean, just think about it. Like right behind me, right there, like people used to fight for this very championship back in the late 90s going up until 2002, and now the title's just become a glorified ID card for people who win a sport championship and they get the big WWE logo and their logo for side plates. I mean, don't get me wrong, like I'm okay with change, but the thing is that there's a lot of leaders in the room, not enough followers. It's kind of like when you're in a kitchen. Think about it. Think of Gordon Ramsay, for example. Gordon Ramsay is leading his people for Hell's Kitchen and MasterChef, and you don't need every single person being a chef. You need to have those followers. You need to have people that can lead one thing and do things the other way. The issue is that it doesn't help, and I feel like one of the sole issues of why Monday Night Raw is bad, and this is just my personal opinion, ladies and gentlemen, is Bruce Pritchard, Kevin Dunn, and Vince McMahon. I feel, in my opinion, I thought it was a horrendous idea to remove Paul Heyman from being the executive producer of Monday Night Raw. I felt that Paul Heyman was doing good with excellent storytelling, in my opinion. There were some questionable moments, I will not lie. But if you look at something where Paul Heyman wanted to push uprising star Aleister Black, and if you listen to the Oral Sessions podcast with Renee, John Moxley's wife, where she interviews him when he's known as Tommy N, he has said numerous times Paul Heyman wanted him to do this, but they didn't want him to do it. The issue is that they don't want to listen to creative ideas. It's pretty sad when I can get invested into a WWE 2K Universe mode or a SmackDown versus Raw GM mode with their storylines and their ideas more than the current product. Like I rather watch Up Up Down Down SmackDown versus Raw 2006 GM mode than what the state of Monday Night Raw is. And I agree with Cameron. Yes, not every show is going to be the best. Yes, not every show is going to be the greatest thing leading up to a pay-per-view, a super card, or a house show and within your local area to watch wrestling. But the thing is, we have seen a lot of the dark ages, we have seen a lot of the upbringings, and honestly, I kind of start to feel that this is just going to be a dark ages timeline. Same way how New Japan Pro Wrestling had it before the likes of Tanahashi, Shinsuke Nakamura, Tetsuya Naito, and Okada came into the picture. I feel like this is going to be the same way unless we get some good NXT call ups. But the thing is, even wrestlers such as Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano have even stated, once I go up to the main roster, my career is done.
That's how bad creative is. It's sad. That's how bad. It's sad how how the top two names in NXT, people who a lot of people would argue are doing that show more harm than good because they've just been there forever. It's sad that Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa would not willingly take that next step. Now, Champ was doing it for other reasons. Champ was doing it for health issues because Champ is sad. Now, because Champ has said a main roster schedule will kill him, which is fine. But with Johnny Gargano in particular, to have somebody in NXT to not want, or to have somebody like Johnny Gargano not want to get caught up in the main roster and go, no, I'm good staying here on the black and gold brand because at least here I know I'll be treated like I'm somebody. It's just completely ridiculous. The fact that people fear leaving NXT. People should not fear having to leave developmental, which is what NXT is or what it used to be. I don't think it's that anymore, but it's what NXT is to a lot of people. NXT is still developmental. It's sad how a lot of people don't want them to leave to get caught up to the main roster because we have absolutely no faith that the main roster is going to use them well at all or is going to use them at all properly. Like it makes no sense. Like it makes no sense. And it completely slaps NXT in the face because why? And it completely slaps NXT in the face and kind of takes away from their show because why should I take my time investing in somebody like a Adam Cole, like a Kyle O'Reilly, like a Io Shirai, like a Io Shirai, like a Tommaso Ciampa, like a Johnny Gargano, like a Keith Lee? Why should I take my time investing in them when I know when they get caught up to the main roster, they're probably not going to be on television, or if they are on TV, if they're on TV, they're not gonna be doing shit, or their presentation is gonna be, or their presentation and their look is gonna be completely ruined and hampered, because that's the way you did it in NXT. That's not the way you do it on the main roster, which is completely ridiculous. The font, which is completely ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. I understand. Look, I understand. Not every talent that gets caught up from NXT is gonna work on the main roster. I understand that at all. I also understand that not everybody can be in the main event scene. I understand that at all. And I think that's one thing as fans we really look at and go, if this guy's not headlining shows or if he's not in the main event wrestling for world titles, then he's on the main roster being buried. He's not doing anything. I understand not everybody can work for the world title, everybody can headline shows or be in main events. I understand that. But you look at the NXT guys they've called up, and it's like, what's the point of them even being called up to the main roster? What's the point of EC3 even being called up to the main roster if you weren't gonna do shit with him? The guy was gonna be in catering, filling up spots on main event. What's the point of calling Tyler Breeze up to the main roster if if you're gonna look at him after a month and just go, this guy doesn't have it? What's the point of doing that? What's the point of calling Aleister Black up from NXT and going, calling Aleister Black up from NXT and going, this guy doesn't have it? Or Ricochet, Humberto, or the Viking Raiders, only for you to realize, only for you to say, only for you to give him a month and go, this guy doesn't have it. This guy doesn't have it. This guy doesn't have that star quality. Well, how would you know? Did you watch it? Well, how would you know? Did you watch NXT? Boy, these guys seem to be, boy, these guys seem like stars. Boy, these guys seem like stars, and Triple H was telling you what to do. And Triple H was telling, boy, these guys look like stars, and Triple H was telling you what to do. And boy, boy, these people look like stars. And when we had 17, 15,000 people cheering their heads off, going, this was awesome in the freaking Barclays Center, here, here, here. Oh boy, these guys look like they were ready. When you called these guys up to Monday Night Raw, we got these guys up to Monday Night Raw. People are going, oh my God, he can do this. Oh my God, I've never seen anybody do that before. My Lord. Like it seemed like they were already there, but according to you, you know what's better. But you know what's better than what all the fans want. I've never seen a promoter. I've never seen a promoter hold this much spite and ill will against talent getting over on their own, or against talent in general. Or against talent in general. It makes no sense. What sense does it make as a wrestling promoter for you to just ignore something because quote unquote we didn't plan on this getting over? Makes no sense. Look at Miro. Look at Miro when Rusev Day took off organically and they didn't acknowledge anything with it. And they did it. Yeah, I'm sure WWE we didn't plan on Rusev getting over as big as he did, but what's so wrong with it? Rusev got over. If you have a star now, you can market on this show that people want to see. What's the big deal about it? What's the big deal about it? Like, aren't you like, what's the big deal about it? Like, isn't the point supposed to be let's give the fans something they want to pay for because they drive our income? Let's give the fans something they want to go to the arena and see. Isn't that supposed to be the fucking point of your wrestling business? If not, then why the still? If not, then why the hell are you even planning a return to live fans next month? You should just be stuck in the damn Thunderdome so that way you can be in your head and go, this works, this works, this works, and you don't have to listen to the people bitch and moan on Twitter about what doesn't work. Because I guarantee you, a lot of the shit they're doing now, when they get back in front of live fans, the people are gonna shit all over it. They're gonna shit all over it, and you're gonna see that the people you think are over are not as over as you think it is, or you think they are.
Man, you got that right. I'll even give you a prime example. Another one, Finn Balor, your inaugural WWE Universal Champion. He even requested to go back to NXT after he was on the main roster because they literally had nothing for him. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I thought they were gonna do something for Finn Balor when he had that Royal Rumble match against Brock Lesnar. And once again, we get this expectation thing that we're gonna get this great match, we're gonna get all the hype, get everything situated, and it's just mediocre. I mean, no amount of doing stuff like a Raw Legends night or an anniversary show can come back from this. And one thing that's also annoying, that I like to elaborate, me personally, is they try to bring in all these stars. They bring in stars from NXT. They want to reinvent new stars. But the issue is that I feel like once we get fans in attendance, I feel like that's a good thing personally, because while Cameron mentioned they're going to get booed out of the building, I feel like it's a good idea only because with them having that live audience and not having somebody tell you what to do in the Thunderdome, and I will speak that for experience in the next few minutes, with these fans that are going to boo like Drew McIntyre or boo the issues with Charlotte Flair, all these issues they have, this will give a great recognition to how WWE is having those issues. And I'll give you a prime example. Roman Reigns in 2015 to 2018. People were booing him like crazy, wanting him to turn heel. And look, they finally pulled the trigger. We got the head of the table, acknowledge me, and Roman Reigns is finally a heel, and we love it. Now, in regards to this Thunderdome situation, I'll admit I was actually part of the WWE Thunderdome. I can't remember the exact date, but I will get back to you guys on that later in a future episode. But I remember I literally had this man talk to me at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time Zone because we're both in the state of North Carolina. They were like, "Okay, these are the rules that you're gonna have to follow to get ready. You cannot have this, you cannot do this, do that." And I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "That's fine." So I had a Oscar t-shirt on. I was in lighting just like this, and I watched main event. And the match we were getting ready for was Ricochet versus Akira Tozawa. And I remember the guy over the monitor said, "Okay, guys, Ricochet's getting ready to make his entrance. So everybody stand and cheer and make sure you scream for him because we're all supposed to like Ricochet, everybody. Remember, we like Ricochet." And then I'm like, okay. I'm like, I've always liked Ricochet. Like, I thought he was a phenomenal athlete, and I cheer for him. And then when Tozawa comes out, because I'm not gonna lie, I like Akira Tozawa. I've seen some of his stuff on the indie scene. I love his stuff in Evolve. I mean, that match that he had with Adam Cole for the NXT Championship is just phenomenal, in my personal opinion. And I get told, okay, guys, we don't like Tozawa because he's a bad guy and he has all this ninja clans and everything. So everybody, you must boo Tozawa. You cannot cheer for Tozawa. And I'm just like, okay. I'm like, so I'm booing him, but the thing is like, all like the guy that will be talking to saying, the guys that are on the screen, and he said this verbatim. If you are on the screen in the Thunderdome, like in the middle, apparently that means you're like the most hype or the super fan. And I remember I was yelling to the point where like my uncle was like, "Who are you yelling at?" I'm like, "I'm getting hyped for the event," and all I did was eat a slice of pizza because I was hungry. And I hear, "Just letting you know, we spotted a fan that is eating a slice of pizza. You cannot do this at this event. You must eat it off screen or else," and stuff like that. I'm like, okay. So I literally ate it off screen, and when I came back, they kicked me out, and I'm just like, why? Like, another thing is like they sell. because I've been to house shows before. They sell popcorn, they sell soda, they sell beer, they sell like all this stuff, and it's like I get kicked out for a slice of pizza. Trust me, once these fans come back, they're gonna let Monday Night Raw have it. And I'll admit, like NXT, with how NXT's been, it's okay, and the way how SmackDown's been, it's all right. But we got Roman Reigns, in my opinion. But this is a Monday Night Raw episode. I just don't see any consistency happening. Like I'll give you a prime example. Like this, like Cameron mentioned, the stuff with Shayna Baszler and Alexa Bliss. Shayna Baszler is a MMA fighter, a former UFC champion, and she's cutting promos on puppets and punching glass. I mean, I'll admit I'm not really a fan of the sci-fi stuff in the wrestling business. If you like it, that's cool. I respect your opinion. But me personally, it don't make sense. It also don't make sense as to why they haven't had the Fiend on Raw. It don't make sense to me why they broke up the Hurt business. And I'm not gonna lie, WWE needs to just take their time and let stuff grow. They are not a fan of long-term booking like they used to be. Everything has to be done within a span of 3 weeks to a month for a pay-per-view. I mean, every major star, in my opinion, such as AJ Styles, Randy Orton, Matt Riddle, Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, yes, they're doing all right, but half of those stars are in a tag team. But the thing is that we have no good tag teams to fight for the tag team titles, nor do we have a good tag team division in all of the history of this year's company. And it's like, okay, how am I supposed to be consistent and deal with that? And then fans wonder, okay, well, I don't like this. I'll go watch New Japan Pro Wrestling, where I'll see tag teams such as the Dangerous Tekkers, the Bullet Club, the Gorillas of Destiny, Los Ingobernables de Japón. Or instead, I'll watch All Elite Wrestling, where I'll watch the Young Bucks, Best Friends, Team Taz. I mean, Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela. I mean, there's more wrestling out there, and we get it. We understand if there's something. If you don't like the product, like you can watch something else. I understand that, but this is how I view it. I've been a fan for years. I'll admit, I'm gonna be a WWE lifer. I'll admit it. I am. WWE was my first wrestling brand, and you know what? I thank it for showing me wrestlers such as my favorite Triple H right here with his poster in the background. But I also thank for other companies such as New Japan Pro Wrestling. Right here, I know you can barely see it. It's my Satoru Sayama of Tiger Mask, the original. I mean, I'm thankful for this. But WWE is what showed me, okay, you have Monday Night Raw, you have Friday Night SmackDown. I mean, this is something I grew up watching. And when you're a fan of something, you want to get invested. You want to become a fan of the product. Like literally, like around my room is like action figures and autographs of all these WWE wrestlers. And the thing is, I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan. I love this. I'll admit I do get carried away sometimes. I get invested too much in it, but I love the sport. I love the sport. I love the business, and I can't speak for Cameron here, but there's like even moments where like I've even judged myself. It's like why? Like if I was to show this to my friend, they would literally look at me and say, "Escobar, what the hell do you have me watching here on a Monday night?"
Yeah,
I mean, it's just crazy.
yeah,
I
they would.
mean, go ahead, man.
Yeah, they would. They would. That's why. Yeah, they would. They would. That's why when I was. Yeah, they would. That's why when I was on campus, I was central. I never I never went downstairs on the base into the basement and cut raw on. I never did that and cut raw on. I never did that. I never did that. I never did that. When I went to know what was going on with Raw, I would watch it on my phone with my headphones in to where nobody could judge me. I'm not going down there cutting on the TV and watching Raw. Now watching Raw, I'm not doing that because the show is an embarrassment. I'm afraid of because the show's an embarrassment. I'm afraid if I put the television show on, they're gonna go, "What the hell are you watching?"
Believe me, I did that once, and in my dormitory when I turned on Monday Night Raw, I remember there was like a little club meeting they had in the basement because the way on how it was set up is that we had one side of the room was for the TV, the other side had the area where you can do your club meeting. I turned on Monday Night Raw and I'm watching Raw with a few of my friends, like about 2 to 3 friends, and I remember like three people walk by and they're like, "Are they really watching Monday Night Raw?" And they're like, "What's this?" And I'm just like, "Man, I'm like, I didn't even think it was that bad." Like, I mean, I'll still be a fan no matter what, but it's just it's questionable, and we all I feel like there's like a major roadblock right now with Monday Night Raw with how everything has been. Like, I mean, I remember watching Monday Night Raw back when Triple H would break into Randy Orton's house because he kissed his wife and like pretty much destroyed his whole family. I remember watching Monday Night Raw where John Cena had the United States Open Challenge. I mean, I was I wasn't there per se, but I watched it live when CM Punk cut his pipe bomb in June of 2011. I mean, I've seen so many great opportunities and I've seen so many bad ones, but I'm not gonna lie, this has to be the most questionable thing. Like, I'll be honest, I didn't even watch Raw live this past Monday. I watched The Bachelorette and I texted my grandmother about what was going on. I mean, everything is literally just been so inconsistent, horrific, and horrendous. And I'm very baffled by this act that WWE is doing with their flagship show. Like, Monday Night Raw is supposed to be the most weekly episodic television show in history. Like, this is supposed to be a show that has had so much consistency, so much growth, and Raw is supposed to be like that ultimate thing. I'm not gonna lie, it gets boring every once in a while to see a 15-minute promo. Just show me a match. Like, I mean, this is the same company that would have Raw's War at 9 p.m., then go to the War Zone at 10, and everything would be crazy. This is also the same company that would have just so many great ideas, so many great memorable moments, and it's like they lost that factor. And I also feel like once they get those fans back in attendance, they're going to realize, you know what, we need to change this real quick. So, in my opinion, and I'll take it over to Cameron for his next point of view, what we need tremendously to make Monday Night Raw like restored to its glory, we need new management. We also are in desperate need of a better tag team division and more women's wrestlers. That's my thoughts and opinions for my few
You know
points of
what?
view.
You know what Raw reminds me of?
What's that, man?
Uh, okay. Raw reminds me of Family. Raw reminds me of SpongeBob, Family Guy, and Simpsons. Here's what I mean by that.
All right.
These are shows that back in their prime, that back in their prime were great shows. You look at a show like The Simpsons that debuted, that debuted back in, they debuted back in the late '80s. I've been binge watching The Simpsons lately. There's stuff in the 1990s, great, great, absolutely great, great, untouchable, man. You're watching The Simpsons in the '90s, and it's like, damn. It's like, it's like, man, I understand why people call this the. I understand why people call this show the greatest television show they've ever seen, because the jokes are great. Because the jokes are great. Because the jokes are great. You're invested in it. You're invested. Here's a man. It seems like the people actually care about what they do, what they put out there. You look at Family Guy. You look at Family Guy. Seasons 1 through 9. Great.
Chef's kiss.
Like seasons 1 through 9. Great. 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 They get a chef kiss, man. Great. They get a chef kiss, man. Things are great. The jokes are funny. Things are great. The jokes are funny. And it's just an easy show to sit down and watch and kill time. Look at season 1 up until the movie came out. Season 1 up until that first SpongeBob movie came out in 2004. It's about a good 6 years of just absolute brilliance. Some of the funniest, most quoted moments in television history come from those 6 years of SpongeBob. Absolutely great, but not because it's their fault, but because the networks need their money, or the show has just made too much money for the network. The network refuses to let go. The network refuses to let go. And now you're looking at a case of where these shows will probably not end. These shows are probably going to go on forever. Me and Escobar are going to be in our 80s, and me and Escobar are probably going to be in our 80s and 90s. And SpongeBob and Family Guy will probably still be a thing. SpongeBob and Family Guy and The Simpsons will probably still be a thing.
You
Probably
got that right, or at least one of the three.
still be a thing. And it's hard to come up. It's like, yeah, and it's hard to come up with just fresh ideas or even care about those shows. And those shows have seen a drastic dip in quality. Well, Raw is kind of the same thing. Raw has had a Raw has had a Raw has had a significant dip in quality for a good little while, and it's just nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit about Monday Night Raw or this guy or this guy or this guy here. It's just nobody cares.
It's sad.
And you said that they need more women and more tag teams. They need a complete overhaul, man, of how this show is just structured. They need a complete overhaul on the format and just the structure, everything in general. They need a, they need, here's a term they need, here's a term used in sports terms, man. When you're watching a team, when you're watching a team and the start when you're watching a team that has a star, when you're watching a team that has a star player, when you're watching a team that has a star, it seems like that star player has done everything they could do for that team, and you're just watching it, you're just going, man, this team needs a reset. They need a reset. They need to rebuild. They need to trade everybody on this roster and come back with some new pieces. Now they need to trade everybody on this roster and come back with some new pieces to get some new management involved, see where they can go with it. Get some new management involved, see where they can go with it. Because if not, this team is just going to be in the lottery every single year, or this team is going to be a team that's good enough to make the playoffs, but you're just in the playoffs. You're not competing. You're not doing anything else. That's what that's what I kind of think Raw is. Raw's like that. That's what I kind of think Raw is. Raw's that eighth, ninth seed that's good enough to get through that's good enough to get through the year. They're good enough to have their ratings. And they're good enough to get through the year. They're good enough to have their ratings continue to soar, and they're good enough to have their ratings continue to soar, and they're good enough to produce just some quality television. Not everything, but they're going to have to produce some quality television. And every year you'll get a couple pay-per-views that went, man, I know they could still do it, but at the end of the day, that next year is gonna come. And it's just, but at the end of the day, the next year is gonna come with that same coach or that same GM, and and you just gonna go, this team isn't gonna go anywhere, and then you're gonna go, this team isn't gonna go anywhere. That's what Raw is right now, man. Raw needs a rebuild. They need a reset. Get Vince out of there. Get some new blood in there, man. Get Vince out of there. Get some new blood in there. The people you have on Raw, get rid of them. Get some new people on the show, man. Get some new people on the show, indeed. Instead of releasing talent that you're not gonna use, have those talents caught up to the main. Have those talents caught up to the main roster or something, man. Like it's just completely ridiculous.
You got that right. And I'd like to add, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, when Cameron makes the comment, Vince McMahon needs to go, we're not wishing death. Most people will be real quick to assume that we are not mentioning death. We are talking about resigns, sells the company, like bring in new people. You need new people, you need new ideas. I mean, we're in a new generation. We're going to be moving forward. The times are changing. And before we wrap up, I'd like to add a special idea with this show. I'm gonna start and then I'll end up with Cameron because Cameron's always very creative as well as just as I am. We're gonna talk about how we would change up Monday Night Raw and how we would have it if we took over. So I'm gonna start first. With how I will begin, once we get fans back in attendance, I'm gonna have a show for I'm gonna have this show called Raw Homecoming. Now, Raw Homecoming, what I was planning on doing, because I feel like you should always never forget where you came from. I was gonna have Monday Night Raw come back for one night again, come back to the Manhattan Center from where they first aired. I'm talking you have the ICO Pro sign in the back, you have that retro Raw logo, you go back to where you came from. And you talk and then we just bring back what made everybody fall in love with wrestling again, and that was wrestling. Two people in that ring that are telling a story with their move sets, their mic skills, everything they have. And you know what? I also, how I would book Monday Night Raw is that I would have all of my champions, like not all the champions have to be on the show for one night, but at least we'll have relevancy added for each champion, and each stuff will be great leading up to the pay per view. You just need to have proper storytelling, the proper consistency, and honestly, we need to just and I'll say this, I'll probably go on wrestling cancel culture here. We need a better set of commentary teams, in my opinion. I mean, I know Mario Ronaldo,
Desperately,
like
desperately, desperately, especially WWE. Oh my God, do we need some? Oh God, do we need some new commentary?
I mean, just think about it. From the company that went from Bobby the Brain Heenan, Gorilla Monsoon, and like now we have what is it? Byron Saxton, Jimmy Smith, and who? Corey Graves.
Yeah,
I think that's who we have. And then on Friday Night SmackDown, if I'm not mistaken, we have Pat McAfee and Michael Cole. And not gonna lie, Michael Cole's probably the only one that I feel like has a better chance of doing it. But I'm sorry. Like I remember when I was a kid watching Monday Night Raw, I remember watching Jim Ross, Jerry the King Lawler, and Joey Styles. And I thought that was good. And that's just my opinion. But we just need to rebuild, reinvent everything with Monday Night Raw. And it's not even just Monday Night Raw, it's just WWE in general. I'm not gonna lie, there's even moments where I tell Cameron, said, hey, for the sanity of my mental health, I'm not watching Raw tonight. It's gotten that
that
bad.
and that entire company needs a complete reset in the way they do business. They got to start in the way they do business, and it starts with the head, and it starts with the head, and it starts with the head. Kick the old man in the, and it starts with the head. And the old man is walking papers and kick him in the ass and tell him to get moving because he ain't got it no more. He ain't got it no more. He don't have it anymore. 1980, he doesn't have it anymore. 1983 till about 2007, 2008. The man was a genius. And,
He was.
the man was a genius, and he started to lose that genius. But he always came through with a big angle or a big something, a big angle or big something. Heck, even with the big angle or big something. Heck, I remember watching WWE 2016, which is the best year this company has had in the longest time. I remember watching WWE 2016 going, I think we may have jumped the shark with Vince a little bit. I think we may have jumped the shark when we said Vince got to get out of power. It's looking like Vince still, got it. It's looking like he still understands. Boy, I was wrong.
Oh
I was
yeah.
wrong. I was wrong. The people running these shows, Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard, John Laurinaitis, everybody in charge of these shows, kick them in the ass, tell them to go on. They ain't got it no more.
So how would you book Monday Night Raw? Like how would
They
you
don't
do it?
have it anymore.
Because I explained how I would do it. I want to go back to the retro vibe, having Raw as war type feels and a little bit of ruthless aggression era. So what would you do?
In terms of how I would book Raw, it's just I don't think it's just one thing I would do because, like I said, that show needs an entire reset. In the way they do, in the way they operate and the way they do business. But in the way they operate and the way they do business. But to be honest with you, I was just going to try to change the formula, the format. Enough of the 20-minute promo, enough of the 20-minute promos, the open shows. You got to do something to try to make those 3 hours entertaining. In particular, I go to USA Network and I try getting rid of that third hour desperately. I do. I understand why that third hour is there because they make about $50 million off that third hour. So I understand why it's there, but at some point you just got to go look. We'll get money in other ways. That third hour has to go. It just has to. That third hour is killing the show. It's killing the show. And I shout out to DJ Storms, by the way, because I remember me and him. Shout out to DJ Storms, by the way, great friend of the podcast. If you're not subscribed to his YouTube channel,
Oh yeah.
you're not subscribed to his YouTube channel. Make sure you sub. Make sure you subscribe to his YouTube channel. Having going back and forth with DJ about Raw. About Raw in 3 hours, and he says about Raw in 3 hours, and he says that the whole 3 hour thing of the show being the right 3 hours. He said that's a bunch of baloney. Well, I do agree that if you have the people involved, writing a 3 hour show should not. be as hard as they're making it. But when you have to write a 3 hour show each and every week, each and every single week, and you're forcing your audience to watch a 3 hour show every week, it completely drains the audience. It completely drains the audience. Number one, and number two, I think it is hard. Or difficult, for flat out impossible, to produce compelling content each week at 3 hours. I just do. Because no matter how good the first or second hour is, you always have that third hour. And if that third hour drags, it brings down an entire episode of Raw. Brings down an entire episode of Raw. Or 1 hour drags, or 1 hour drags, or it's just not good, drags down that entire show. Drags down that entire show. So if Raw was 2 hours again, I think Raw would be a lot. Sit there, I think the writing would be a lot easier to sit, and I think the writing would be a lot better. But they need to get rid of this 3 hour. They need to get rid of 3 hour shows. They need to change their whole philosophy and the way they do stuff, and they just need a complete overall and complete reset. I can't tell you what I would do to change Monday Night Raw, because if I did that, it's 8:57 now. If I did that, we wouldn't get out of here until about 8 o'clock at night.
No, what you talking about? It's gonna be
we
8 o'clock the very next day.
we wouldn't get out of here until about 8 o'clock the very
We'll be making conference calls, having breakfast, and like having everything
next
all
day.
set up.
So I'm not going. But these shows just need a complete overall, because these shows suck. These shows fucking suck. I'm sorry. What do you want me to say? These shows. What do you want me to say? These shows suck. But yet you still have people. But yet you still have people that defend Monday Night Raw each week, going, well, I guess they're doing something right, because they're going to. Well, I guess the Monday Night Raw, for the people that call Monday Night Raw a bad show, I guess they're doing something right. I guess they're doing something right, because they're constantly. I guess they're doing something right because they're constantly top three, because they're constantly the top show on cable each week. So I guess Monday Night Raw is doing something right. I guess it's not as bad of a show as it is. Ha ha ha. These people make me want to bash my fucking head through a wall, because they're part of the fucking problem.
They'll bash your head in because I need you for
I
the show, man.
I guarantee they're part. I guarantee they're part of the fucking problem. And if you're listening to this right now and I'm calling you out, it's because I am. View Raw and Dave Deniza, another fucking clown, and PWCDs and the geeks over there at the It's Your House podcast. Fucking Harry, fucking Shotzi Fry, fucking Paul Mickey. I'm fucking Paul Mickey and fucking No DQ. And the people over there fucking No DQ. Not Aaron, because Aaron's cool. Not Aaron, because Aaron's cool. But the people over there are fucking No DQ. I'm calling you people. These are the people I'm calling out. And the great one, and fucking Planet Productions. These are the people I'm calling out, because these are the people that same tired excuse. These are the people that use that same tired excuse, not realizing that they're part of the problem, and they're part of the reason why Raw would never change. Just they piss me
Pipe
off.
bomb.
God, the shills piss me off, bro. They do. The
I felt
shills,
that.
the shills piss me off, man. I do. I understand. Shills piss me off, man. I do. Look, if you like the show, great, but don't sit there. If you like the show, great, but don't sit there and act like you're Dory, or this company is fine, or they don't have an issue creatively, because they do. If you deny that fact, if you deny that fact, well, then you're in denial. It's just completely annoying.
You got that right. I'll
Stupid.
admit that. And before we wrap things up, I also like to give a special shout out to some fellow supporters of this podcast that have subscribed to us already. So before I continue, I'd like to say a huge shout out to Nick Fiore of the Furious Nation, DJ Storms. I'd also like to give another shout out to Joseph Conlon of the Big Fight Feel, Earl Cole of the Wrestling Experience, and more. Thank you for subscribing before we uploaded our first video. We appreciate that. I will put your guys' channels in the pinned comments down below. And I'd like to close off my ending statement with Monday Night Raw needs to change drastically. We need way better talent in regards to management, wrestlers, tag teams, everything. And honestly, I don't see the point in reviewing Monday Night Raw with how bad it's going to be. At this point, I'm going to just watch The Bachelorette and just see what's going on with them, and then see what's on the Squared Circle Reddit to see what's going on. Don't get me wrong, I also watch Raw every once in a while because I'm still a wrestling fan at the end of the day. But this is kind of a complicated situation. It's kind of like when you want to talk to that girl of your dreams and you're just like, okay, like this is the one for me. I want her and stuff like that. And then you're just like, ooh, this is complicated. Like Avril Lavigne. I couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. So, but I feel like this is going to be a healthy, safe ending to our rant for the C&E podcast. Once again, this is our very first YouTube video. If you're listening to us on the audio, thank you again for listening to us on your streaming platforms. But I will put Cameron and I's social media and info below. We also have an email page if you want to request us for bookings or show appearances. Later on, towards the end of the year, we are revamping our Instagram, and I also plan to have some more social media stuff planned out for us in the future. But Cameron, do you have anything that you'd like to add before we sign off for our inaugural episode?
No, thank you for the people who have subscribed. This gonna be a long journey. This is gonna be a long journey. We're not expecting. We're not expecting 1,000 or 100 subscribers at the start. We're not expecting 100 or 1,000 subscribers at the start. At the start of this is gonna be a journey. And for right now, this is just something. For right now, this is just something we're gonna do for fun. And for right now, this is something we're just gonna do for fun. So keep that in mind.
Oh yeah.
If you enjoy what me and Escobar had to say, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to the C&E Podcast on YouTube, and also make sure you check us out on all platforms. And also the 2012 pay-per-view uh, reviews, which I have recorded. I just had to upload them. I'm probably gonna upload them on YouTube. I'm probably gonna find a way to add photos and all that stuff so you can actually see what's going on with those shows. But I'll probably just upload them to YouTube.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. This is the heart and soul of the IWC. This is Cameron Johnson and Escobar Morales signing off. Thank you again for tuning in to the C&E podcast.